Hey, read through the word. Today is November 1st. November 1st. Let that soak in. November 1st. Oh my goodness. Y'all, we're almost there. Okay, November 1st, and today's lesson is called The Plot. And I am so glad to get to come back to you because there was so much going on with all the teachings in Holy Week that we're still in Holy Week when I get back to you. So I'm so glad that I get to be with you I'm going to talk about now. A lot of what Wendy has done had occurred on that Wednesday, but Tuesday and Wednesday of that week. But I'm going to pick up because I've already marched through basically Sunday, Monday, Tuesday with you. So I'm going to do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with you on my days with one of my, because we do 4 at a time. So one of my days is actually going to overlap a little bit Thursday and Friday because there's a lot going on overnight that night. So that's where we'll be going in our readings this week. And so today, the verse I'm looking at is Mark 14, 42. That's what I'm basing the lesson on. But it's let's pick back up in 41. It says, "But he returned to them a third time, and he said, 'Go ahead and sleep. Have your rest. But no, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here.'" Okay, so here we are. We are still in Holy Week. This is Wednesday, April 1st, 33 AD. And with the idea of I'm giving you dates, these are loose dates. We don't know exact dates because of the way the calendar. Now, some other time I'd love to get with you with Dionysius or Dennis the Short is what I call him. I'm a church history buff as well. Now that should not shock you, but who the Pope had in like 300s, 400s AD come up with an exact calendar and determined the birth of Jesus, and they were off a few years, and so our years can be a little off. So when I'm using 33 AD, they're basically using a 0 number there, so we could probably back it up more towards a 30, but that's another talk for a different day. So if you look, all of that said, if you look somewhere else and you say, "Hey, Lisa said it was this date," this is a loose from something I am using. These are the dates I have. I've got 2 different books that have 2 different dates in them. So this is what I'm going with. So here we are. So we're 2 days before the crucifixion of Jesus. Now, Jesus is continuing his daily teaching in the temple. And then we are the week of the Passover. So as we're in Holy Week, we are approaching Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And what I want us to concentrate on is, and I feel like I'm going to sneeze. So hold on. I got this fuzzy sweater. I get fuzz up. It makes me sneeze. I'm so sorry. Okay, so the Feast of Unleavened Bread and Passover are approaching this week. What I want us to pause and remember is, I think so many times, especially when we're looking with this week, Holy Week of Jesus, who, if you're in the church, and many of you are new as a Christian or new to reading the Bible, and sometimes these texts are what we cover during Easter, Resurrection Day, and some of them can be exactly what Bible can become so rote and familiar that we approach them with presuppositions. And so I'm asking you not to do that, to come at this fresh, to look at this with new eyes. Ask the Lord to teach you something new. Not that there's something new there, but there's something you've not seen before. And that we remember that just as Jesus is fully God, fully man, these are real humans, real human beings in this, and real complex ideas going through their minds, and to sort of look at what's going on. And so what I'll basically cover today is the plot to kill Jesus and what's going on, who's behind it, why they're behind it, and ultimately God's view on it. So you have what you have here too is Judas. Judas is seeking out the Jewish authorities in order to betray Jesus for a price. Now, the people that he's going to approach are the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin, who you will see referenced here, they're oftentimes, I think our translation that we're using talks about them as the teachers, the scholars, the scribes, and there's one other that it calls them. But those are the religious leaders of the day. The Sanhedrin itself is, now there's another like more proper approach, pronunciation of Sanhedrin, but I've said Sanhedrin my whole life. So I can't say it that way without it sounding weird and feeling weird to me. So it's like Sanhedrin is how it's really said, but we're going to go with Sanhedrin. So, because I'm Southern. That's this group. It's the ruling body of the Jewish people. It's a body of 71 people. It's made up of the Sadducees and Pharisees, who both have different theologies and different doctrines. And Wendy's covered some of that before with you, and I've covered a little bit of it. And those are the people that make up this group. The whole idea comes from, if you think about the 70, is during Moses, when Moses' time, and remember his father, he's having all these problems judging all the people, and his father-in-law, Jethro, says, hey, you're taking too much on, you need to organize this and develop this better. So, and that was a group of 70. And so that's where that 70 comes from with the Sanhedrin and what's going on during this time. Now, I want us to see, well, let's talk about the Sanhedrin a little bit more. You have this group of Sadducees and Pharisees, and then their leader is the high priest, who is the high priest during the time. Now, at this time, during the time of Jesus and this Holy Week, the high priest is Joseph Caiaphas. And so we typically know all these people by their last names or their surnames, or Caiaphas. So Caiaphas is the high priest during this time, and usually this whole group would meet once a month on to decide what was going on and for their leadership responsibilities. And then high holy days they would meet more. So we've got 2 high holy days this week. Coming up. That's why I referenced it. We've got Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So you've got that coming up, and so that means there is, especially with Passover, we're talking a pilgrimage feast where everyone is coming to Jerusalem. And so as everyone's coming to Jerusalem, there's going to be people everywhere, and they have got to do something, because here's what's going on. Now, I've talked about this before, but the Romans are in charge of Jerusalem and Judea, the provinces that are now Roman names. So, Judea, Decapolis, Galilee, Samaria, we would take like states, but there are, those are the areas they're divided into, and they're Roman names, which is why you now know the nation as Judea during this time, is because that was what it was known under Roman occupation. So under Roman occupation, they left the people alone, and as long as they paid their tax money, they were fine. And we talked about that some before. And so, but they let them rule their own affairs, and this governing body is who did everything. Now, they meet this week specifically. There's my word again. I can't get away from it. You will see that they're like, we have got to do something about Jesus. We can't let this keep going on. Now, this is nothing new. let me show you this. They have, now, I'm using my daughter's Bible. It was happened to be laying in here, so I just grabbed it. Let's see if I can read it. Like the size. Mark chapter 3, verse 6. It says, immediately the Pharisees went out and started plotting with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. So this has been going on for over 2 years. That's in Mark chapter 3. So they've been plotting and looking for ways to get rid of Jesus. Why? They felt that if Jesus was not arrested, because remember, we look at this, what is it about this point right here that Jesus has got to be taken care of? We've had enough, no more, because they've been plotting for over 2 years. So you had remember, we're in this same week, as long as it's taken us to read, but we're still in the same week where on Sunday was the triumphal entry. And then we saw him cleanse the temple. Remember, he's growing, and then he's been teaching in the temple grounds, and they've seen the people interact with him, and they know here we have at the end of this week is coming up a big high holy day. If this Jesus and all his messianic talk causes a problem, we're going to be taken out of power. We're going to be taken out of power, and we can't let that happen. So we've got to do something about him. We've got to do something about him. So they felt if he wasn't arrested and killed this week, get him out of the way. If we don't do that, then Rome's going to take their power away. They also, they're real people. So there's that in their minds. Now they have a warped idea about it all, because we're going to discuss about truth and lie this week as well. They have this warped idea of their religion. And they think as long as there's blasphemy in the land, then true Messiah cannot come. They don't think Jesus is true Messiah because he's not shown up in the way they're expecting him to. And they want him to show up with power in the government. This is nothing about power in government. This is about power over absolutely everything with Jesus. But it's not the way they wanted him to show up, so they weren't looking for him to show up that way. And so this Jesus, as he truly is, isn't what they were looking for, nor was it what they wanted. They wanted a God in their own image. That's what they wanted. And they knew they had to take care of Jesus. They had to get him out of the way. But in their idea, as long as this Jesus was out there, there's blasphemy. He's out there healing. On the Sabbath, he's calling himself I am. Then blasphemy. As long as there's blasphemy in the land, the true Messiah cannot show up. So we need him gone because of that too. Because Jesus challenged their authority. Every conversation he's had, every question they ask, every teaching they do, they try to set him up. But he is the truth. He is the truth. He is the way. He is the life. There's nothing they can do because he is God. But they don't see it that way. So they're out to get rid of him because Jesus declared himself to be Messiah and the Son of God. And they do, and as much as we get this big idea of hatred and what's going on during this, I want us to look at Acts chapter 2 and remind ourselves of who is in control. Acts chapter 2, verses 22 and 23. And it says, Men of Israel, listen to these words. This Jesus the Nazarene was a man pointed out to you by God with miracles, wonders, and signs that God did among you through him, just as you yourselves know. Though he was delivered up according to God's determined plan and foreknowledge. You used lawless people to nail him to a cross and kill him. Now, that's Peter's sermon after Pentecost in Acts. But this is the plan of God. How God uses evil. God can take evil. There is evil in the hearts of these people. They are determined to not lose power. They are determined to get rid of this Jesus. But their idea of getting rid of Jesus is what's going to save the world. And that's how God can take evil and do good. And in the middle of all this plotting, we get a glimpse into what Jesus is preparing for with his anointing. So, the leaders plot, and they wring their hands, and we'll watch them tear their clothes. And Jesus is still, because this is the plan of God. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.